The end of the school year is upon us. For some of you, you're only 2 to 3 weeks out from, your blissful summer vacation. Others of you, you still got a month or more until you're going to even put the countdown on your whiteboard. But regardless, the end is coming in sight, even if it feels still way far off. And so I'm excited, no matter where you are, to start a new series on the podcast. It's going to be 3 weeks long, all about how to end your year organized. Y'all, organization, it is my love language, okay? My spice rack is alphabetized. My favorite coffee mug says it's a beautiful day to make a spreadsheet. My closet is color-coded, and it is only filled with clothing that fits into my pre-approved color palette, which, side note, if you have never gotten a virtual color consult, it is the best money you will ever spend. I did it in 2021, and it's like the gift that keeps on giving. I have a discount code for the one I used in my show notes. I will link it. You can check it out. You can DM me on Instagram, and I would love to talk to you about this. I will probably talk your ear off about this because I'm so passionate about it. But I digress. Okay, I tell you all this because I love organization. Like when people ask, what would you do if you weren't a teacher, or now like if you weren't a curriculum writer or podcaster? I literally say that I'd be a professional home organizer. When my best friends call me and ask me to come over and help them clean out their closets, like nothing brings me more joy. So I am the person to run this podcast series. And honestly, I cannot believe this is the 4th spring season of this podcast, and I have yet to do a series like this. Like, what have I been doing the last 4 years? Okay, so it is time, teacher friends, and I'm ready to dive in. So we are going to start this 3-week series talking about organizing your resources. We are going to talk digital organization, paper organization, as well as auditing and continual management of your organization system. So let's get started. This is Secondary Science Simplified, a podcast for secondary science teachers who want to engage their students and simplify their lives. I'm Rebecca Joyner from It's Not Rocket Science. As a high school science teacher turned curriculum writer, I am passionate about helping other science teachers love their jobs, serve their students, and do it all in only 40 hours a week. Are you ready to rock the time you spend in your classroom and actually have a life outside of it? You are in the right place, teacher friend. Let's get to today's episode. Okay, I have to preface this content by saying, I'm going to share what works for me, a highly organized type A person that lives for a system. Okay, this is a system that has served me. If you have a system already going for you, you don't need to throw it all out to do what I do. This episode is really for those of you who feel like maybe you have a system, but it's not very great or effective, or you don't have a system at all and it's mass chaos. You've got things on Google Drive, you got things in a filing cabinet. You're like, what is what? Okay, this is for you. Also, if you do have a system that's working well, I'll share a few tips at the end about how to manage it and make sure you sustain that helpful system. But first, we're going to talk about the actual organization. I'm going to share digital organization as well as paper organization. I know a lot of people just commit to one or the other. I have both because I love both. So this is kind of like a choose your own adventure, and you can also do like me and have both systems. And I'll talk to you about how to manage both of those too. So you're not like, how do I know what's digital, what's not? Okay. Now, the task of doing this, especially the digital organization, because that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with digital organization. This is such a great thing to do when you've got a TV show on in the background, or if you want to do something mindless and kind of dabble in something while your students are working on a review pack independently or working on an end of year project, doing research in groups or whatever. This is a great thing you can kind of be doing, from your demo table up front, and then take a lap and check in on everybody. Then do a little bit more and then take a lap. Okay. So for your digital organization, there are some steps to this process. Okay, the first thing you have to do is pick a location. Are you going to have everything organized on your hard drive, on Google Drive, on Dropbox, on, Microsoft 365 or whatever the new office lingo is. Like, where is going to be your location? Now, can you use multiple places? Of course. I use my hard drive and I use Google Drive. I used to use Dropbox until those of you who remember back in 2023 when I was writing the chemistry curriculum, I was following a blog post on the Dropbox Help Center website about how to do something, and somehow Dropbox managed to wipe out my entire hard drive and the files were not recoverable. And I spent over a month in customer service with Dropbox trying to get these files back, and they didn't come back ever. And by the grace of God, the only thing that saved me was that I had bought a new laptop 2 weeks prior. I had my old laptop still. And so I only technically lost 2 weeks of work, but I could have literally lost my livelihood. So I do not use Dropbox. That is my story for you. But, again, choose your own adventure. You don't need to DM me about how, Dropbox saved your life. It ruined mine almost. Okay. But you're going to pick a location. Again, I like hard drive and I like Google Drive, but I want you to pick one that's going to be like every single thing is going to be here. Like, this is my home base. For me, that is my hard drive because now I don't trust the internet. But I do also use Google Drive. But my home base is hard drive. That's going to be our primary organization system is set. Then we can have other things in other places, and I'll talk to you about how you're going to manage that. Okay, so you pick your home base location. Second, you're going to make a folder for each subject you teach. And I want you to make fresh folders. Okay, so I want you to have go into your documents or go into desktop or whatever and make your fresh folders. Biology, chemistry, anatomy, earth science, whatever. Make your folders, one per subject. Then open up that chemistry folder and you're going to make subfolders. Again, these are brand new folders. I don't want you just moving around playing Jenga with what you already got. We are starting fresh and we're going to input everything, okay? Within each subject, you will have subfolders. Number one that's going to be labeled old. This is where you're going to put old things, okay? Things you're no longer using, files you're no longer using. You're going to file them into there, okay? But right now, we're just creating the folders. We're going to have old. We're going to have BOY. That's beginning of the year. This is where it'll be things like your syllabi, your orientation sheet, your back to school night, those kinds of things. Then you'll create a folder for each unit. Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, etc. Maybe you don't want to number them. Maybe you just want to do them by name, whatever. And then you'll have a folder that's EOY, end of year. Or maybe you want an EOC specifically because you teach an EOC course, end of course. It's going to be end of course exam specific stuff. Those also may be separate. Maybe end of year is some different projects you do at the end of the year and your final exam stuff. Maybe EOC is specific stuff for the EOC that you're going to use all year long related to your EOC. We're going to do different review at different points during the year. Okay. That's our starting place. You may see that you need more subfolders as you go, but we're starting with old, BOY, one for each unit, EOY, and maybe an EOC or AP if you teach an AP exam. Okay, now I want you to open up one of those unit folders, like Unit 1, Biology Basics. And I want you to put 4 subfolders within that one, okay? Notes, instructional resources, assessments, to try. Okay, notes, instructional resources, assessments, to try. This to try, that's for you resource hoarders. You know who you are. You're the ones who are just constantly snagging stuff off the shared drive for the district, off the Facebook group, off the PD you went to where they shared things. You're just gathering. You would have been a hunter-gatherer back in the 18th century. Okay, you would have thrived in that environment. This is who you are. And maybe you're not, but you still have some other new things. Okay, you need that to try folder. That's going to go there. Then you're going to take those 4 folders and you're going to copy and paste them. They're empty right now. You're going to copy and paste them into each unit so that every single unit has the same foundation. Okay, we're setting up the skeleton, the building blocks of this system. Now, here's the other thing you need. You're going to put this in the subject folder so that when you open your physics folder, it's going to have old, BOY, each unit folder, EOY, maybe EOC, and then there's going to be a document. And this is your table of contents. Like we said, you got a home base location. This is your home base document or spreadsheet. Maybe you want to use an Excel spreadsheet if that's your vibe, whatever. I like just like a Word doc, okay? And this is where you're just going to put everything that you need to know about where other things are that are not right here. So for example, if you have a couple Google form tests, you're going to put in your table of contents like, hey, all these units, there's a Google form of the test, and you might like put the links to them there. Or, hey, I've got this saved on this drive, or this is in Dropbox, and you're going to link it. All of those things are here. Or maybe this is printed out and it's in my filing cabinet. Anything where you're like not sure exactly where it's going to go, or you're afraid you're going to lose it, it goes in this like table of contents. That is what's going to be on that sheet, because that's going to be so helpful for you. You got to have one place that's like your go-to source for these kinds of things. Okay? Once you have this skeleton organization system set up, then you're going to start sorting your resources. So now you're going to pull up a Finder window if you're a Mac person. You're going to have a Finder window with this beautiful setup we just did. Then you're going to have another Finder window, which is all the things you already have. And you're going to start dragging things where they belong. This is where it's fun, because you're just going to start seeing visual progress as you drag things. I highly recommend, if you don't know what something is, you open it up and you look. And y'all, we're going to delete stuff as we go. We're going to delete duplicates. Or if it's like super oldies, okay, like the 5th derivation of your bell ringers. Like you're on version 5. We don't need version 1. Go ahead and toss it. We're going to keep some oldies in the old folder. But again, we don't want a gajillion oldies, okay? If you're like, I cannot delete a single thing, okay, then all those the older versions go in there. Okay, but that is what you're going to do for those folders. You're going to start sorting. Again, this is great, like mindless work while you got a show on, or you're kind of like having students do independent stuff and you're just doing this a little bit at a time. Okay, so let me review that. You're picking a home-based location. You're making a folder for each subject you teach. You're making subfolders. You're starting a table of contents or like a home-based document where you're going to have all this information, where you're going to know, like that's like where you're putting all your notes and all your weird file links and all that stuff. And then you're going to start sorting. Once you are done sorting, now you choose where you're going to back up your files. So now, do we want to back all this up on the iCloud, on Google Drive, on Dropbox if you dare? Do you want to get an external hard drive that you're going to back up on? It's totally your call, but we're going to back it up. And then the 7th thing we're going to do is you are going to go into your phone calendar right now, and you're going to set a recurring event on it to back up your files once a month. So for example, this is airing on the 12th. So maybe you're going to go in and on the 12th of every month, or you're going to say like, I need to back up my files. Go ahead and put it in there. And it's going to give you a little alarm every time it does. The reason we're doing this is like, will you probably miss a month here or there because sometimes the 12th is a Sunday and you're not even on your computer? Yeah. But as long as we're putting it in, you're going to hit it most of the times, and then we'll have more frequent backups. Obviously, there are auto backup options. Again, I have like 1,000 right now because I'm so traumatized from my Dropbox wiping of my hard drive. But I'm just trying to give you like some starting places here. Okay. So that's how we're going to organize our digital files. Again, where you do this doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer, but I have found this to be a very effective way to do it. Now, a little side note here. If you use resources that you got from someone else, like curriculum, for instance, that you bought from It's Not Rocket Science, hi, that's me. Then what I would do for you is like in your folder that's for the unit. Like, so for example, your stoichiometry unit folder for chemistry. I already told y'all you would have like a notes and instructional resources and assessments and a to try folder. I would have another folder that's like INRS, It's Not Rocket Science, stoichiometry. And that's where I would put all of my stoichiometry resources that you have gotten from me. Like, so all of my folders where I organize things like your packets, your implementation notes, etc. I would put that there. I think it's nice to have like one place where the like original files are. And then if you want to mess with the assessments in your own assessments folder, you do that. That way, at the beginning of the year, I recommend everyone who uses my resources re-downloads them, typically early August, because at the end of July, I go through and check all my links and stuff like that. That way you can like replace all the files in one place and know like, okay, this is like the untouched It's Not Rocket Science original versions, or whoever you got them from. I would have a separate folder for those from the things that you've manipulated and worked with, if that makes sense. Okay, that's my digital organization system. Now, for paper organization, I personally am obsessed with having paper organization. There's just something to me about like tactile organization that just makes me feel, I don't know, I feel so much more organized when it's like physical. Okay, so my 2 recommendations for this is you need binders with dividers and you need a filing cabinet. First, binders with dividers. I like a 1-inch binder or a 1.5-inch binder, no bigger than that, per unit. So my chemistry curriculum has 10 units. I have 10 binders and they are labeled. If you have any of my curricula, the bundles come with spines and covers that you can like put in your little binder so they're nice and prettily organized, just like my pictures are. If you look at my resources like anywhere on the internet, you'll see my pictures of all my binders lined up. You get those. My best friend made those for us, for you, but one binder per unit. Within that binder, you're going to have dividers. Now, the amount of dividers you need is kind of dependent on if you teach CP and honors or how much you'd like to have printed. For me, I tended to have a CP packet printed. I liked like a blank one. An honors packet printed. I liked a blank one. Then I had the packet keys for each if I was teaching both CP and honors of that subject. Then I have like an assessments tab where I keep quiz and test keys and tests. And then I had another tab divider that was like any supplemental resources that were printed out. And then my favorite thing is I get a zipper pouch, a 3-ring zipper pouch. I'll link some in the show notes, but you don't have to grab these specifically, but anything like this that stays at the front of the binder. And I put any laminated station cards, task cards, discovery stations, little game cards, anything like that we're reusing year after year, those go in that zipper pouch. So it's all right there with that one binder. Then typically when I was in the classroom, I kept all my binders in a locked cabinet except for the one that I was teaching right then. That current unit I kept, and that was like my baby. I carried it around like I carried my laptop. It came home with me, like it was not just floating around. But then it's only 1 inch, so it's just so easy to manage. I have a video of this. It's so old. Like I made it on my phone on Instagram and someone was like, save this. I think I like downloaded it from Instagram stories and then uploaded it to YouTube years ago. Again, it's very raw. It's not really professional at all, but I'm going to link it in the show notes. If you want to physically see what this can look like, that will be there in the show notes. That YouTube video is linked. So a binder with dividers, 1 per unit. For AP Bio, I messed with doing 1 per semester. And I had like mega binders, like 3-inch binders for each semester. And it was so many papers. It was so many. And it was this just giant hunking binder. So I really prefer 1 per unit if you can swing it. The second thing I like to have is, like I said, a filing cabinet. Typically, that's like the bare minimum that a school will provide. A teacher is a filing cabinet. You don't need one per se, but I did like to have one. This is a great place to put student work samples that might be like a little bit more bulky that you can save. Or it could be a place where I always locked up my students' tests. Each student, I made them a folder at the beginning of the year where I put all of their tests. It stayed locked and they could come in at any time during tutoring, before, after school, whenever my hours were, and look over old tests with me. That was one way I kept tests secure. And then at the end of the summer, before the start of the new school year, my admin gave me permission to then shred the previous tests. They always wanted us to keep the tests from the previous school year through the summer, just in case someone came up with someone's grade or something like that. Nothing ever did, but that was just, and then I was able to shred them before the start of the new year. But that's a way you can use your filing cabinet. Now, if you put something in your filing cabinet that's like pertinent, I'm thinking, okay, you teach, you use my biology curriculum and you do the popsicle stick babies lab in the heredity unit. And you have all these little Ziploc baggies of your chromosomes. And maybe you want to put those in your filing cabinet. Okay, go off. I had little like plastic tubs, like shoe bin style tubs. I'll link those in the show notes too, that I had for each lab that I kept these kinds of materials in. But let's say you want to put them in your filing cabinet. Anything that's in your filing cabinet, what I would do is I would take an index card and tape it inside the front of the binder. Sometimes the front of the binder will have like a plastic pouch. So you could tape it to that plastic pouch and just put what's in the filing cabinet from this unit. So again, this binder becomes your physical printed paper home base, just like that one document in your digital organization is going to be your home base there. We have to have one place where we know to always look to know where things are located. Okay, so that's going to be put there. Okay, so that's kind of a summary of how I organize digitally versus printable resources. Now let's talk about maintaining organization, because a question I see a lot is like, I have so many great resources, I just can't find them, and or like at the end of the unit, I've accumulated all this stuff and I don't have time to like organize them or, make sure they all go in a certain place or whatever. So here's my number one tool for you, Post-it notes. Every time something comes up, you write it on a Post-it note and you stick it to your paper organization. If you are purely digital, you use those digital sticky notes. You download those and you put it on a digital sticky note. Okay, but I love the physical. My AP Bio binder has so many sticky notes on it because I left 3/4 into the year for maternity leave when we adopted my oldest. So I never went back and did all the edits, but all of the notes are still there for the next time I would teach it. It's all there. It's such an easy go-to thing that you can grab a Post-it note at any time and be like, oh, these procedures for this lab need to change. Or here's some sample data from this past year. Maybe I can refer to it in a future year. Or, oh, this practice handout is terrible. We need more here. We need more reinforcement. Whatever it is, you're scribbling notes on your Post-it notes. Or maybe you say hey, I changed this in the Word doc, but I need to upload it to the Google Drive. Whatever, you put the stickies and you put it on the physical binder. And then that way, the next time you're teaching it, if you don't have time to make the changes at the end of the unit, which is my number one recommendation, go ahead and make the updates while it's so fresh. You're going to do it on the front end of teaching it again. And that's going to be where you're going to refer to. You're going to go through all your notes and make your changes. You can also, if you don't want to use digital sticky notes, you can add this to your home-based document, your table of contents, or maybe it's a Google Doc because that's really easy to have access on your phone, and then it updates on your computer and your phone, and you're just jotting things down. But you're going to have one thing, whether it's Post-it notes, a Google Doc, that's where you put all of your revisions or your ideas or things that need to be updated or replaced or whatever. And then the second tool you're going to use is some sort of timer or calendar reminder to update. Again, I said, you're going to set a timer on the 12th of every month or the last day of every month or every 30 days to get organized here. Or maybe it looks like every time you have a PD day built into your school year, you are going to set a timer for 1 hour and go through and update and check on your organization and keep tabs on it. But the bulk of this organization is on the front end. And once you have a good system, it's so much easier to maintain. Okay, the last few things I'm going to say about this before I hopefully set you free to go start doing this is an excellent time while you're going ahead and doing this to audit your resources and look for holes, look for weak spots, what needs to be replaced, where do we not have a lot of hands-on resources for an extended period of time where we need to zhuzh it up. This is a good time to make note of those things. And now go ahead and use your system. Use the Post-it notes. Use your table of contents to jot these things down now. If you don't have the time to make changes now, you can make them later. Another thing you can do is strategize your sequence. Really consider, I love doing this at the end of the year. Consider your sequence for your course. Now is the time to change it to make it make more sense. I have a great episode on this, episode 80, where I kind of walk through the questions I recommend you ask yourself to make sure you're teaching things in the right order, because that can make all the difference. And then last thing I'll say about this is if you want to look at specifically auditing your labs, I have a lab audit that's a part of my free Labs When Limited virtual professional development course. And I'll link that in the show notes where you can grab that. Okay, so here's your take-home challenge. Start this process today, or at a minimum, put it on your calendar when you are going to do this. Maybe you're going to do digital organization one day and order all your binders, and then you'll do your paper organization when all the binders come in or something like that. But I think if you do it between now and next week, you're going to feel so accomplished and so productive, because next week we're going to talk about the next part 2 of our In the Year Organized series. Okay, so stay tuned for that. If you want to check out that YouTube video I mentioned, or I linked some of those zipper pouches, you can find those in the show notes at itsnotrocketscienceclassroom.com/episode 182. And if you have not left a review for the podcast yet, I would love it if you would leave a 5-star rating and review, especially if your resources are a digital or paper mess right now, and you're excited because now you feel like you have a system to use and get going with it. I would love it if you left a review. All right, teacher friends, that wraps up today's episode. If you're looking for an easy way to start simplifying your life as a secondary science teacher, head to itsnotrocketscienceclassroom.com/challenge to grab your classroom reset challenge. And guess what? It's totally free. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you here next week. Until then, I'll be rooting for you, teacher friend.